All right. Hello. I am Janet Evans. I am a Fenton City resident. I live in Fenton with my husband and two children. And we recently purchased property in Tyrone Township to build our family's dream home. And obviously, an asphalt plant is not in our dreams. That's going to interfere with the plans that we are wanting to do for our future and our family, like so many other residents. So I am here with Sarah, and I wanted to just help spread some information to fellow residents. And speaking with Sarah is going to be one of the ways that I do that. So, welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Could you introduce yourself and let us know just a little bit about how you got involved with organizing efforts?
Sure. So, my name is Sara Dollman-Jersey, and I have four kids. We live about 3/4 of a mile directly west of where the asphalt plant would go. And so, I first heard about this proposal on Facebook, like many of you, and immediately I was concerned with the proximity in which our family lives to potential contaminants. So, um, I just got involved in the start from working with the print committee. And each day things have just gotten bigger and progressed, and more of our really smart residents have come forward and wanted to help and share their expertise. So that's how I got involved and why I care about this issue. And I've just been trying to kind of coordinate efforts as best I can with all the people coming forth to share their expertise.
And we appreciate that.
Thanks.
So, what do you know about where we stand in the process of the township hearing and responding to this application?
So that's another great question, and it's a fluid process, is how I can best describe it. I know that the Planning Commission had hired a planning firm, and they just recently received that report back. And that's a company out of Ann Arbor called Carlisle Wortman. That information is available on the township's website. So that was a really big step in the process. And that firm came forth and said that based on the current application, they recommended denial of the proposal because there were so many missing pieces in the application itself. And so now, my understanding of the process was that next steps would be to go back to the applicant, ask for further studies and assessments. But I did email Mike Cunningham because now that the planning firm has come forth with this report, it sort of changes things slightly because I don't even think that the state that the proposal is in has enough merit to ask for studies and assessments. And so my question to Mr. Cunningham was, where does the process go next? And he did respond, and he said that the next Planning Commission meeting, the agenda has not yet been set, and that's going to be on April 13th. It's a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. But he thought that they would be discussing the report, giving further direction to the applicant, and then discussing the scheduling for the public hearing, which is another really important upcoming event. So that's kind of a long winded answer, but I don't know um, specifically next steps until we hear from the Planning Commission on the 13th. But the general path of things would be we hear from the Planning Commission about when the public hearing will be, and then they further work toward giving their recommendation on the proposal. The county will do the same thing at some point. They will review this proposal and give their opinion and recommendation before the board receives all of that and makes a final vote. So the timeline is somewhat vague, but we're progressing forward. And I think that April 13th meeting will give us further information.
Yeah. great. So it's a lengthy and involved process that
Hmm.
takes time, and we're not entirely sure how long that time will be. Um, but it's an important process for the board to follow so that they don't have risk of litigation, right?
Exactly.
All right. So, what are some of the things that you and other volunteers have been working on?
Well, that's evolved over time too. And I think initially our focus was awareness and helping the community understand what was going on, asking them to call the township and express how they felt about the proposal, call into township meetings, etc. And now our focus is sort of shifting as we've had a number of scientists and researchers in the community offer their expertise and knowledge. And we're trying to collect that data and find the right forum with which to share that with the township officials. So essentially, our goal is to try to help them make an informed decision that's based on science and research and data. I think this community has done such a great job letting this township know exactly how they feel and how this affects their personal lives. And now we really want to arm them with the information that they need to vote it down. So we've been focused on things like air and water quality and understanding the operations of an asphalt plant and the emissions they put out and how that affects us as residents,
Mm-hmm.
how far those effects range, um, and looking at things like groundwater runoff and how that will end up ultimately in our wells over time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that we've also focused on some fundraising recently, and I know we'll talk about that more in depth. But essentially, we're focused on the science and data at this point in time.
Okay. Um, and so tell us a little bit more about who you've been in contact with, and who are some of these community members that have expert knowledge on specifically these types of issues.
Sure. So we've been working with environmental consultants that have expertise specifically in working with asphalt plants. We've been working with a community member whose career is on safe and healthy. I'm sorry, safety and health regulation. Um, and he's going to actually be presenting on Saturday at our public event, and that will be recorded to share with the public as well. And another one more recently has been someone with a background in environmental law and toxicology, focused on air emissions. And we're also trying to establish a relationship with U of M's Department of Engineering to see if we can find someone that can help us do modeling for air emissions and risk assessment with environmental engineering and also traffic engineering studies. And then the last group two groups I guess I would mention would be the Sierra Club has been really helpful in helping us understand how to effectively communicate and campaign. And we've also contacted the Livingston County Emergency Management Department to better understand their role in hazardous events.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Um, and so, what role does fundraising play? How will those funds be used?
That's a really important question for the community to understand. And you know what? Right now is a really critical time because we want to do everything we can to stop this proposal at the rezone. I mean, we're talking about rezoning 124 acres of residential farmland to heavy industrial. And so, really, an asphalt plant is just the beginning of what may go in over there. And so, once an asphalt plant or further industry gets permitted, there's not a lot we can do retroactively. There's not a lot we can do um, to regulate the consequences of those industries in our community. So fundraising efforts now are really aimed at um, funding our attorney, who is spending countless hours looking at every possible way that this could go forward and being prepared in advance. So if that means there's a yes vote and we need to file a referendum or a recall, those things will be in place, because those are very complex processes that need to be planned ahead of time, and legally vetted petitions. And there are a lot of different directions that this fight could go. And so an attorney guiding that ship is essential, in my view, in helping us develop strategy and communicate with the township effectively. So that's our biggest expense, but we're also talking about things like funding print materials like mailers to help the community know what's going on, paying for advertising on Facebook, for example, within a targeted area to help residents know what's going on, and even looking at things like environmental impact studies and traffic studies.
Okay, great. How would other residents be able to get involved in the fight against this asphalt plant?
Well, I think the first step would be to be as informed as you can. And the best avenue we have for that is looking at the website. And you can sign up there for email updates as well. And people can continue to contact the township. They can donate, they can sign petitions. And I think one of the key things is to share your knowledge with your neighbors and your friends.
Mm-hmm. Great. So, what are the three most important things that you would like your fellow residents to know?
One of them I already stated, and that is that this proposal, the owner of the land doesn't live in the area, and he has asked for the rezone of 124 acres from residential farmland to heavy industrial. And the consequences of that decision are only in their beginning stages. So I think that that's really important for people to understand. The second point would be that this proposal is not in line with our current master plan. And our township's slogan on our logo is living in harmony with nature. And nothing in this proposal reflects that slogan. And I would also say that as a group, as a community, we're not against the idea of asphalt plants. We are against the idea of an asphalt plant in a residential community in an inappropriate location where it's going to affect the health and safety of our residents.
Mm-hmm.
And adding another asphalt plant to our area does nothing to improve our roads. Our roads are a wreck. I'll be the first to say that yes, our roads need to be improved. But we already have 4 asphalt plants serving our area within a 30-mile radius that are functioning at less than 0.5% of their permitted capacity. So it's not, the road concerns are not a lack of access to material to fix them. The roads are fixed through a different mechanism that works through the county, and you have to have appropriate funding through the county to fix your roads. So adding another asphalt plant in our residential area is not going to do anything to fix roads.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, finally, I would just say that this proposal would be detrimental to our health and safety and well-being of our residents. And we need to just keep arming our township with the information they need to be able to make an informed decision.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And partnering with the board as well, right? We want to help them to be able to make this decision. I think one of the things you and I have talked about is that the board is not our enemy. We don't want to feel so much anger toward them. We have to help partner with them to fight against this process, right?
Exactly. Because, when I think about how I came into this situation, I didn't know anything about zoning and um, industry really. It's been learn as I go and having lots of conversations with really smart people in our community.
Mhm.
And the people on the board, the people in the planning commission probably had more knowledge than I did,
Mhm.
but I don't know that they're experts in asphalt plants and the
Mhm.
consequences that come with them. And I just, at the very least, want to make sure that we have an avenue for sharing information, and
Mhm.
then, making that informed decision will be hopefully an ethical one too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so very much for your time and not only for doing this interview, but your time and commitment to all of your volunteering and advocacy for this this issue. It's really very helpful, and I appreciate that very much.
Thanks, Janet. I have a lot of good people helping out.
Yeah. If nothing else, we've met a lot of wonderful neighbors, right?
We sure have.
All right. Well, thank you very much and have a great night.
Thanks, you too.